Hello and welcome to Run Testers. My name's Nick and this is our first run review of the New Balance Fresh Foam X Balos. The Balos is an all-new premium daily trainer from New Balance that sits in the Fresh Foam line, but it's a fairly high-stack shoe that's designed to be comfortable but also quite fast and do a bit of everything. And I think it's fair to say it takes aim at shoes like the Asics Super Blast as a plateless super trainer almost. It certainly has the price of a super trainer, costing £200 or $200. It weighs in at 251 grams or 8.8 ounces in a UK size 9 and has a 6mm drop with a stack height of 38.5mm at the heel, 32.5 at the forefoot. So there's no plate in the midsole, but you have got an interesting foam. I think it's fair to say it's a mix of PEBA and EVA. It's called Fresh Foam X. Now, obviously, New Balance has the Fresh Foam and Fuel Cell lines. I think everything's quite muddy now because they tweak the foams in each of the shoes within the lines to have different materials, different feels, all that kind of thing. The names are more indicative of the way they expect the shoes to be used. So Fresh Foam shoes are probably more daily trainery, comfortable shoes, whereas Fuel Cell shoes designed to be fast shoes. Although again, the Balos kind of sits in the middle of all that because it is designed to be a shoe you can use for fast runs, even though it sits in the Fresh Foam stable and has a soft, comfortable feel. So it really is designed to be something that can do a bit of everything. So along with that soft and bouncy foam you have in the midsole there, that, like I say, is a mix of PEBA and EVA. You've got a very pronounced rocker on the shoe to move you through your foot strike. You've got sidewalls of foam to add some stability to the shoe as well, but even though it's not the highest stack shoe in the world, it is quite a soft foam, and stability is certainly something that people I think will be thinking about with this shoe. And you've got a creel mesh upper with some reflective details at the front and back there. You've got quite a bit of padding around the collar and a fairly stiff internal heel counter there, again to provide some stability. Not much padding on the tongue though. In general, it's quite a lightweight upper all round, I'll say, and the weight is certainly a factor with the shoe. New Balance has gone out of its way to try and keep it quite a lightweight shoe to make it more versatile. And then you've got an EVA outsole, so it's mostly quite exposed foam. This is quite soft to the touch, this material here, but the black sections at the toe off and at the outside of the heel are much firmer and more durable. So it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the midsole holds up over use, but there are some stronger, more durable patches of rubber in the key impact areas on the shoe. It does have a little bit of a vibe of the old New Balance Beacon, and actually that is the shoe that sprang to mind when I first heard about the shoe. The Beacon was a high stack, very lightweight shoe that had a, not the most exciting foam in the midsole, but it was a really fun shoe to run in. You could do a nice variety of runs in it. It was great for long runs. Not really heard anything about the Beacon for a couple of years now. The Balos has now come in, I think, to do a similar role with a much higher price tag and with a more modern and bouncy foam in the midsole. It'll be interesting to see also how it compares to shoes in the current range, like the 1080 V13, which is a more of a comfort focused shoe with Fresh Foam X on the side, and then there's the New Balance Rebel, which is a lightweight, plateless, versatile daily trainer that sits in the Fuel Cell lineup.
Okay, so the fit for me in the Balos, I'm a size 8 in the UK, this is a size 8. I found it to be a very comfortable shoe on that first run. It does have a little bit of space at the sides of the forefoot and the midfoot. It's not too restrictive, although it's not the roomiest shoe out there. But it's definitely a shoe designed for people with average and probably more than average width feet. The front of the shoe hasn't got loads of space to my big toe and the end of the shoe. It's absolutely fine for me. That's how I generally wear shoes. I don't have loads of space in front of the big toe. But for some people who really do like to have a thumb's width of space, you might want to size up half a size in this shoe. The other thing about it is the front fabric of the shoe does seem to sit quite low. So you can feel it touching the toes. It's quite a stretchy fabric, so I didn't have any issues on that run. But it's another reason why you might want to size up half a size. I would stay to my size based on that run. I found it very comfortable, no issues, a nice bit of padding, no problems with the lockdown. The only thing I did have an issue was both laces came undone when I started running, so I had to tie them down tighter. Not sure why that is, but probably just worth knowing that. I'm not sure if these laces are particularly well designed for holding steady, but I would stay to my size in this shoe, but you might want to size up half size.
Comes to sizing, I've got a UK 9 here, US 9.5, which is my normal size. With New Balance, I've sometimes had to go half a size up to get a bit more room. It's a bit of a tricky brand sometimes to nail down the sizing of. The Balos has been fine for me in my normal running shoe size, but it's not the roomiest toe box all round. I'd say the width is kind of okay, although I do have a narrow foot. It's not always easy to tell on width, but I think it's actually just quite a low toe box, so it can feel a little bit cramped, but I did have enough room myself on my first run in the shoe. So maybe if you're at the bigger end of your size, have a very wide foot, like a bit more room in your toe box, you can maybe look at going half a size up. Would be a shoe that's probably worth trying on, but overall I think the fit is fine in my normal running shoe size, and I would stick to that. So So for my first run, the Balos is an easy to steady 45 minutes with a few strides at the end. So the pace started at around 4:30 per k and moved down to around 3:40 per k, with obviously some strides at faster speeds afterwards. A little bit tired going into the run after a day of travelling. I was looking for the shoe to give me a little bit of a boost in spirits, and it certainly did that. It is a really nice shoe to run in. It's got a very fluid and comfortable feeling underfoot. The rocker really does move you through your foot strike nicely, and there's quite a lot of bounce there, probably a little bit more bounce than I necessarily expected from the shoe. The rocker is, I think, the most notable feeling on the run. It's really smooth, very nice. It's not actually as aggressive as I thought it might be, or actually feared it might be. I think for a daily trainer like this, you don't want it really flinging you forward too much, and actually it didn't do that. It felt very smooth and relaxed at easy paces. I felt like I could get into tune with it when I was running a bit more slowly at the start of the run, and actually I stayed kind of in sync and in rhythm with the rocker as I moved through the gears and then pushed on to strides at the end. It is a rocker that feels very nice at a range of paces. It doesn't really feel like it dominates the run too much. Like, it's not like you're thinking about the rocker the whole time. It just moves you through your foot strike nice and smoothly. You get a little bit of uplift off the foam under the forefoot, but it doesn't feel like it's really pushing you through your stride too much or anything like that. Balos also feels really light. Like, it has a pretty lightweight design, but 250 grams is not as light as something like the Rebel, and actually it felt similarly light to the Rebel for me. It's got a really nice pickup. Again, I think the rocker helps here. You do move through your foot strike nice and smoothly. Upper's nice and light. There's nothing really about the shoe that feels like it's pulling you down in any way at all. Like, foam feels nice and poppy underfoot, so yeah, all around feels like a really lightweight shoe, but still a pretty comfortable one. Like, it doesn't feel like a really maxed out shoe, but it certainly feels very comfortable underfoot. You're definitely getting enough protection there at easy paces. That's because the foam is also very soft. Like, it's got that sink-in feeling that we've had with other Fresh Foam X shoes lately, but unlike the Fresh Foam 1080 V13, where I felt like I'd get lost in that foam and I wouldn't transition through my foot strike very well, I think you do get a nice bit of bounce back from the Fresh Foam variant in the Balos, obviously because it's got some PIBA in there as well. I think it gives it a bit more resiliency. You get that pushback. It's not really explosive or an insanely bouncy shoe, something like the Mizuno Neo Vista, but you do get a nice amount of bounce back and a lot of comfortable squish sink-in feeling when you first land. So it does have the protection, but it does then move you through your foot strike with that rocker, give you some pop off your toes. It is a really well balanced ride to then handle a range of paces like I did do in the shoe in that first run. The foam does sit somewhere in between the Fresh Foam in the 1080 and the Fuel Cell in the New Balance Rebel. In the Rebel, I think it's a bit firmer. You don't get quite as much sink-in, certainly on landing. It's a softer foam in the Balos, but unlike the really soft foam in the 1080, it then does spring back and give you that push to carry on running, so it doesn't feel like a shoe that I would just classify as an easy day shoe. It's definitely one that I think that has a bit more range and versatility than the 1080. Did do a short run wearing it and the Rebel because I think the problem with the Balos was it's going to be its price tag potentially, and the fact that New Balance has such a good plateless, lightweight daily trainer in its range already in the Rebel, and you certainly have a much more rockered feeling with the Balos and a bit more of a bounce, a bit softer feeling. Rebel feels a bit more of a simple, straightforward shoe with a foam that gives you a little bit of bounce, gives you a bit of protection, but doesn't have as much softness as spring, and certainly not the rocker that you have on the Balos. So with a soft foam like this and a pretty high stack and the pronounced rocker, I was a bit worried about stability with the shoe, but it's not something I noticed at all on my first run. I found that it was rolling me through my foot strike quite nice and smoothly on that kind of straightforward, neutral trajectory. I don't think it's a particularly unstable shoe, despite the fact it is soft and wobbly, but that might depend a bit on how you land and whether you're overpronate already a little bit, so I'll talk a bit more in a full review, but I don't think stability is going to be something that's a major concern for me, and I look forward to getting out in kind of longer runs in the shoe to look at that a bit more.
Okay, so the Balos is a shoe that I've been very, very interested in for a while now. We saw early previews of it coming out at the American Running Show. Can't remember what it's called. It may be called the Running Show. But when those pictures came out, I was very excited. I think New Balance has really worked quite hard on developing its foam over the past couple of years, or its foams, and we've seen really nice updates to things like the New Balance Rebel V4, and we've got updates coming to the 1080 range. Well, the 1080 V13 had a big update to the foam, which made it considerably softer than the previous versions of that shoe, which I wasn't a fan of, but I really do like the 1080 V13. We've got the 1080 V14 coming soon, and the New Balance More V5 coming, which I'm very excited about testing. Anyway, back to the Balos. So the Balos is a shoe that, on paper, I wasn't entirely sure it was designed for. It's one of those shoes that's a little bit confusing when you look at the marketing spiel that the brand puts up. So they talk about it on the website being a faster training shoe. It takes you up to race day. I'm always a bit skeptical when brands talk about a shoe being able to do everything, because no shoe tends to be able to do everything. So I wasn't entirely sure what to expect from this shoe. What I've found from that first run, and that first run I've done was a pretty taxing fartlek session, so I've just got back from it. It ended up being about 11k, and it included 3 1 kilometre sections where I was running pretty hard, about 3 minute 40 kilometre pace, and then lots of shorter reps, which I was going down to about 3 15-minute kilometers. So really taxing sessions for me. I've not been running that fast for a very long time. So and also I did a 36-kilometer hike on Monday across the Downs, and I did quite a heavy leg session earlier. So I came into that session without fresh legs. I was not feeling ready to go, and I thought I was going to struggle. I did struggle quite a bit, but I picked up this shoe to see how it would deliver on that one. Really enjoyed it. It is a shoe, I think, if you ignore the marketing spiel that you'll see on the website, I think it's a shoe that is really focused on comfortable, easy day, recovery, longer sessions. It's not a shoe that's particularly designed for running faster. That midsole foam, it's a really nice midsole foam, and when you are running at a nice, consistent, steady pace, it's really bouncy, soft. It just gives you a lot of energy back. Perfect for how my legs felt today, because if I'd have worn a really firm shoe, I think I would have really struggled on that run today. I needed something with a little bit of energy in it, and a little bit of cushioning, just to make me feel like the run wasn't as bad as it felt. It's a shoe that really has really hits those soft, bouncy, cushioned runs that you need. Perfect for easy runs. You can use it really nicely for easy runs. It just sort of bounce you along really nice. Those faster sessions we did wasn't too bad at it, actually. I felt that I could pick up the pace in that, and that's because of that energy return in the midsole. I don't think it would be a really good choice if you wanted to mainly use it for faster sessions, intervals, things like that. I think that midsole isn't particularly well designed. It's not that responsive, but there is a rocker in it, a really noticeable rocker, which really tips you forward. So that rocker and that nice soft bounce really does lend itself well to that consistent pace of maybe a tempo run or just a steady long run, those sorts of things, and it makes it really fun as well. So what I found over the course of that run is that for the easy sections, it felt great, very comfortable. It tips you forward. It just makes you run nice and easily when you're maintaining a consistent pace. When you're running faster in it, it's fine. It does feel like it can do it. That bounce does help you along with it. It's just not a poppy shoe. It's not a shoe that has loads of responsiveness, and definitely doesn't feel like a shoe that I'd use for like a fast 10k or anything like that. So really enjoyed it after that first run. And this foam, I think it's a really nice tweaking of the Fresh Foam X. It's great to see more versions of Fresh Foam X coming out, because at a certain point we were looking at Fuel Cell as being the foam that's really taking over from Fresh Foam X, but with shoes like this, it seems that they're putting a lot of effort into Fresh Foam at the moment as well. So really enjoyed it for that first run. Going to look forward to doing a lot more training sessions in it. I'm marathon training at the moment, so I'm going to have a lot of longer sessions. I'm up to about 2.5 hour Sunday long runs at the moment, which are at a consistent pace. This is probably the shoe that I'm going to look forward to using for that. So yeah, very, very successful first run in it, and looking forward to doing more testing in it. So my early verdict on the Balos, I think it's a really exciting, fun shoe that is really going to work well for someone like me who's marathon training at the moment. So I've got a lot of miles to do. My legs are quite often going to be quite tired, but I've still got to do those longer sessions, and it'll be going for like 3 hours over the next few weeks. So I'm looking for shoes that can really bounce me along, give me a bit of energy, and just protect my legs and make them feel like they're not getting damaged all the time when I'm running. So yeah, I think that's what this shoe is designed for. It is probably similar to shoes like the Superblast, although it's less rigid than Superblast. There's no plate in the shoe. Even though it has a lot of midsole foam in it, a lot of bounce, it does feel relatively natural. I would say it's not the most stable shoe. I did land on it a few times, and I did feel that softness in the midsole was a little bit unstable. It's not massive, not a major issue. I think I'll notice it on the longer sessions if I do use it for those runs, but for that session today, it felt absolutely great. It's an expensive shoe, so I don't think it's a shoe that necessarily everybody will need, but if you are a long distance runner, if you have a lot of miles that you're trying to do, and you want a shoe that is going to just make those runs more enjoyable and protect your legs, I think this is going to be an interesting and really good option for that. Up with things like the Superblast, where you want a shoe for those runs that doesn't have a plate in it and isn't that aggressive. Although the Rocket is somewhat aggressive, but it feels quite natural when you're running it.
So, early impressions of the shoe. That was very fun first outing in the New Balance Balos. Feels like a really capable daily trainer that will be able to pick up a wide range of runs and, make them enjoyable, do them really well. I think it protects the legs well with that soft foam, but I do think it has a nice lightweight feel that will work well for faster runs as well. Be interested to see how it does for, really fast stuff, like moving beyond those steady paces down towards my race paces, intervals, that kind of thing. I feel like it should be a pretty good interval shoe because it does have a nice lightweight pickup, but I'll be interested to see how it performs on longer, hard efforts where generally I'd use a plated trainer or even a plated racing shoe and see if this can live up to those standards. I do think it'll be really good for easy stuff and long runs though. I think that of these kind of super trainery spectrum we have now, I think it's one that tilts more towards the daily trainer end of things that can do a lot of those easy runs and long runs, but I'm not sure will necessarily have the top end speed of some of the others. I think the big problem with the Balos is this really high price, and I didn't know the price when I was running in it, and I thought this is a really nice daily trainer here, no plate in it, comfortable, can do a lot of stuff. Does not feel like a £200 shoe to me though on that first run. Obviously there'll be a lot more testing to determine that in the future, but it feels like a good shoe, but it is going up against some of the best shoes on the market that are coming in a fair bit cheaper. If you look at some of the plated super trainers out there, the Endorphin Speed, the Mac X2 I've just been testing recently, I think it's an amazing shoe. You are getting more versatile shoes there, I'd say, with a bit more punch for speedy runs, and they are still comfortable at easy paces. There's also the Asics Superblast 2 obviously, which I think the shoe does take aim at. Now Superblast is a similar weight, but you're getting a lot more foam on the Superblast. I think it has a livelier ride, but I do think the Balos can hold its own against the Superblast, but it's not undercutting it in any way, and the Superblast is such an impressive shoe. We'll do a full comparison down the line, but for me this is a shoe that feels like, this is a great plateless daily trainer. It's the kind of shoe that can compete with plated daily trainers, and I expect it to do that at a lower price, not come in more expensive than them. If you've got great, versatile, lightweight, plateless daily trainers out there like the New Balance Rebel and the Hoka Max 6 already, those are great shoes that are worth considering, I think, because they are cheaper than some of the plated shoes out there. But if you can come in more expensive than the Saucony Endorphin Speed or something like the Hoka Mac X2, it's going to be a slightly tricky sell. We recently did our full review of the Hoka Mac X2, and I've been doing some of those easy, steady runs that I did in this shoe, and it has felt a bit better for those runs than the Balos, just because it has a bit more punch at those faster speeds. So the fact that it's also cheaper just puts a big question mark against the Balos. We'll talk more about that in our full review down the line when we can discuss that price and how it compares to some of those other shoes I mentioned. That's our first look at the New Balance Balos. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, ring the little bell, and we'll see you next time.